you know that I can see you?
And good morning, Marissa Viverito. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well.
Where do you work?
The City of Atlanta Police Department.
And how long have you worked for the City of Atlanta Police Department?
Since February of 2023.
And what are your current job duties and responsibilities with the City of Atlanta Police Department?
Currently, I hold the rank of investigator, and my position is unique. It's the first of its kind for the Atlanta Police Department. It's a move towards intelligence-led investigations. So my official title is an investigative gang analyst. That is where it's basically a hybrid between a detective and a criminal intelligence analyst. So you're fusing the best parts of both worlds to move investigations forward, especially in the gang world.
And when you said intelligence-led investigation, just tell the jury briefly, what do you mean?
Intelligence-led investigations where you think outside the box. So it's not just, okay, maybe some camera footage, talking to some people. You're using everything at your disposal, whether it be social media accounts, jail calls, phone extractions, wiretaps, everything. You're going to try and get everything you can from the intelligence world and do your research and bring that all in together than just traditional investigative techniques.
Prior to working at Atlanta Police Department, where did you work?
Start from the beginning?
No, just
okay.
Immediately prior.
Prior to the Atlanta Police Department, I was with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office in their gang unit. I was a senior investigator, and then I was ultimately promoted to a lieutenant in the high-profile case unit.
And let's first talk about your time as a senior investigator. Tell the jury about your job duties and responsibilities as a senior investigator in the gang unit.
So I would work with various attorneys in the unit, and I would review cases that were coming up for trial or being prepared for indictment, and I'd take a look at the file, and we'd see if there was anything that was needed to push the case forward. We may go talk to people, we may locate witnesses, we may secure additional search warrants, and just get the case ready and be trial ready for when it ultimately goes to trial or takes a plea.
And as a lieutenant, what did you do when you were with the high-profile unit?
It was things of a similar nature, but it was a little bit more, again, as the title would allude to, high-profile cases, media cases, cases that involve difficult witnesses, in cases that were a little bit more complex.
Now, prior to working at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, did you work for any other law enforcement agency?
I did.
If you could tell the jury about your career in law enforcement.
Sure. I graduated from the University of Tampa with a bachelor's degree in criminology. I did about a year down in Tampa working at a juvenile facility to get some experience. Then after that, I moved to Atlanta. I started my career with the Georgia Department of Corrections as a felony probation officer. While I was there, my career has exclusively been in the city of Atlanta. While I was there, I started out with a normal caseload. Shortly after that, they started a program what was called the Atlanta Community Impact Program. It was a pilot program driven to reduce recidivism for people returning back to the community from prison. So somebody may get sentenced to a prison sentence that includes probation. So they partnered us with, every day we were partnered with Atlanta police officers. We would ride with them. They would come with us to do home visits. So we'd get a list of returning citizens from prison, and we'd offer wraparound services. So if you need a job, if you need housing, if you need clothing, if you need education, if you need anything you need, we offer it there as like kind of a one-stop shop in an effort to reduce recidivism. So on the other hand, then, if you want to get out of prison and say, you know what, not interested, I'd like to engage in a crime spree, thanks. We have the Atlanta Police Department with us every day to say, okay, we're going to stop that before you get hurt or before anybody else gets hurt. Anybody in the community is
I want you to slow down a little because you are going so fast, and I will ask a different question further. All right. While you were with probation, did you ever have an opportunity to work with the GBI?
Yes, later on in my career.
Okay. So when did you work with the GBI later on in your career?
Okay, several years later, I was promoted to probation and parole has there are different ranks. I was promoted to a criminal investigator. So what's that? You don't have a caseload. You're operating as a
slow down.
Sorry. You're operating as a law enforcement officer within probation and parole. Typically, you're assigned to the Special Operations Division, and then you're assigned to either a federal task force. In my case, I was assigned to the GBI Gang Task Force. That's the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It's a statewide gang task force.
And what did you do when you were part of the GBI Gang Task Force?
Although we were statewide, my experience was here in the city of Atlanta, so I took on
You're right, this is her training to qualify her as an expert in gangs.
Do you want to stipulate to it?
Okay, so specifically going into what you were doing with the GBI Gang Task Force. You can continue.
Okay. So we had some agents like to work in North Georgia, some South Georgia. I was familiar with the city of Atlanta. So during my time there, I investigated several complex, multi-defendant gang cases that were focused on violence within the city of Atlanta.
And in additional, do you have any formal training that you've taken to assist you in identifying gangs here in the city of Atlanta?
Sure. Back when I first started, there's a 40-hour course down at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center that you take as kind of a introductory course down there. I completed that. I'm also a member of the Georgia Gang Investigators Association and completed the beginner and intermediate certification through them. I attend there. They have a biannual conference, a summer and a winter typically, where it's a week full of just training. Every year the topics vary. They bring people in from all over the country to teach. I attend both of those. I attend various trainings throughout the year and just keeping myself abreast of the topics and trends in the gang world.
And just briefly tell the jurors, what type of courses are you taking in these training sessions?
It just depends what they offer at the time. It could be best practices in gang investigations. It could be technology focused. It could be narcotics focused. It could be focused on street crime enforcement. They try to keep a good variety so their members are well versed and have a well-rounded training background.
Yeah.
Could we use?
Can you pull that? Yeah, it worked great for a minute, and I don't know what happened, but just pull that mic towards you. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
In addition to your formal training, do you have any other training or experience to assist you in identifying criminal street gangs and determining gang culture?
I'd say my experience here in the city of Atlanta, working here, my career's been exclusively here. Probation and parole gave me a great knowledge base to start my career. I do a lot of in custody and custodial, non-custodial interviews with people. I like to talk to people. People talk to me. And I do listen to a lot of jail calls, I feel they're great to get information, phone extractions, wiretap calls. You kind of learn from the gangs themselves.
And you just talked about speaking with individuals. At your time, have you had the opportunity to speak with gang members and or their family members while you've been working in law enforcement?
Yes. Multiple times I've talked to gang members. I've talked to the mothers of their children, their mothers, their grandmothers, brothers, sisters. Sometimes I remember one time recently I was out at a crime scene and somebody's sister came up to me and said, "Hey, how you doing?"
Sustained.
Let me ask you this. Do you gain information to assist you in your investigations with your cases?
Absolutely.
And then you talked about jail calls and wiretaps, and listening to those jail calls and information you get from the wiretaps or intercepted calls. Does that help provide you information to assist you with your knowledge of gangs and gang investigation?
It does.
Now, as your time as an investigator and working in all of your law enforcement capacities, have you had the opportunity to use social media to assist you in your investigation?
I have.
How does social media assist you in your investigations?
So typically in the past with gangs, graffiti used to kind of be the newspaper for the gang. You go to neighborhoods and you look at graffiti and see who's been dead or who they're disrespecting, who's claiming the territory. Now, modern day, that's all basically shifted to social media. It allows you to still do that and not assume much of the risk that you have standing out there doing those kind of things. Gangs love social media, and it's probably one of the most important things you need to pay attention to in gang investigations.
Now, do you use certain tools in order to assist you with investigation that the general public does not have access to?
Yes.
What are some of those tools?
Of course, we have our jail call system. We have phone extractions are a huge, huge thing. So any cell phones that we recover during arrests and we secure a search warrant, I'll have them extracted by a qualified examiner. interviews that wouldn't be available to the general public, the access to certain people. There's a lot of people that I've talked to that not everybody has access to talk to. So there's several things.
Okay. As a gang detective with Atlanta Police Department, were you trained in the method and protocol of the Atlanta Police Department in determining whether or not a person is in either associated or a member of a criminal street gang?
Yes.
Now, when you were with the other agencies, were you trained in other methods or protocols to determine whether or not a person is either associated with or a member of a criminal street gang?
Yes, the different agencies have their different methods, but yes.
As an investigator, have you had the opportunity through your work in Atlanta to interact with persons who claimed association with a gang called Young Slime Life?
Yes.
Can you just tell the jury generally about your interactions with individuals regarding the Young Slime Life gang?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Let me just ask generally, then I'll go specifically. Have you had conversations with individuals who are a member of Young Slime Life?
Yes.
Have you had the opportunity or occasion to review social media accounts of individuals who claim affiliation with Young Slime Life?
Yes.
Have you had the opportunity to listen to jail calls of individuals who associate themselves with Young Slime Life?
Yes.
And have you had the opportunity to intercept phone calls with individuals who associate themselves with Young Slime Life?
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you, through your work as well in Atlanta, have you had the opportunity to interact with individuals who claimed association with a gang called YFN?
Yes, I have.
And I'll ask the same series of questions. Have you had the opportunity to listen to jail calls of individuals who associate themselves with YFN?
Yes, I helped investigate and was part of the team for the YFN RICO indictment, and jail calls were an integral part of our investigation.
And we're going to talk about that indictment in a moment. Have you had the opportunity to look at social media of individuals who claim affiliation with YFN?
Yes.
And what about interception of cellular phone calls? Have you had that opportunity with individuals associated with YFN?
Not as YFN as the target, but it's happened with other cases.
And when you say not with YFN as a target, what do you mean?
When you intercept phone calls, you have a target phone number that you're intercepting the calls from. I haven't had a wiretap case. I've done a few of them. I haven't had one where a YFN person was a target.
Now, through your work working with YSL and YFN, have you had the occasion to learn about alliances with both YFN and YSL?
Yes.
Now, I think you mentioned briefly GGIA, but if you can explain to the jury, what is GGIA?
That's the Georgia Gang Investigators Association. Many of us are members and we attend the conferences. They offer great trainings and certifications throughout the year. And like I said, they have a winter and a summer conference. You can go there, you can meet gang experts from throughout the country will come present and just learn from a variety of experienced individuals.
And I think briefly you mentioned, have you had the opportunity to teach courses in gangs?
I have.
What type of courses have you taught?
I serve as an adjunct instructor for the Georgia Gang Investigators Association. Typically, I teach social media investigations and advanced investigative techniques.
Now, you talked about the fact that you listened to a lot of jail calls. You've intercepted cellular calls on wiretaps. I mean, you've had the ability to review cell phone data that's been extracted from cell phones. Did those interactions with technology and communication with gang members, looking at jail calls and those items, did that help you gain any knowledge into coded languages that gang members may use?
Absolutely.
Have you had any training on gangs and music?
I've had, at the Georgia Gang Investigators Association, I believe a few years ago, they had some blocks on music and gangs.
And have you had the occasion in your experience to investigate gangs with people who have ties to the music industry?
I have. In Atlanta, it is very common.
And is YSL and YFN both of those gangs that you've been able to investigate?
Yes.
And have you listened to music of individuals associated with both those gangs, both YSL and YFN?
I have.
And are you familiar with gang references in music?
I am.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender Investigator Viverito as a witness, as an expert in criminal street gangs and criminal street gang activity, Your Honor.
All right. She's so qualified and may testify as an expert in those areas.
Yo, hit that light for a deal with Christian. Yo, for a deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that light for a deal with Christian. For a deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that light for a deal for Christian.